This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
Thanks so much for joining me for this chat featuring Northern Irish guitarist Simon McBride. Now, the catalyst for the conversation is due to the launch of his new solo album titled The Fighter. But something else about Simon that you may or may not be aware of, he is actually the guitarist in Deep Purple at the moment. He's taking the stage that belongs to, the side of the stage at least, that belongs to the great Steve Morse, who's had to step away from his gig due to he's looking after his very ill wife. So Godspeed to you there, Mrs. Morse, and also Steve. But for Simon, it's a wonderful opportunity to get on stage in one of the all-time classic rock and metal bands and strut his stuff. Just think about it. He is on the side of stage that was once occupied by probably the greatest rock and metal guitar innovator outside of Eddie Van Halen. I'm talking about Ritchie Blackmore, and one of my favourite guitarists, Tommy Bolin. Underrated fella. Long gone, of course, but that guy had style, panache. He had it all, and so does Simon, as a matter of fact, as evidenced on this tune, which you will hear if you are listening via the podcast apps. Don't Dare is the name of it. It is taken from The Fighter. Unfortunately, if you've tuned in via YouTube, I can't play the song, so we're going to dive into the chat now. For you podcasters, let's hear the tune, and the chat will soon follow. Let's go. G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
Mate, ticking along. It's bloody freezing here for us. You'll probably laugh being where you are, but it's about 15 degrees or something like that. But you know.
What's the degrees?
15.
15 degrees? That's summertime for us. What are you talking about?
I can imagine. I know, it's just we're not used to it. So we tend to get about 6 weeks of cold weather a year. I want to say cold weather like this. And you feel it because you're used to it being at about 24, 25 degrees, you know?
Oh, I can imagine. It's like, yeah, I'm sure it's always the thing. It's when you're in a warm place all the time and then it drops a little bit, it's cold. Whereas for us, it's the opposite. If we go to a hot country, it's like, oh, Jesus, you know what's going on? I know, it's just mad. But yeah, because I've been in the last 2-3 weeks, I've been in kind of the Middle East direction, you know, and it's just been like 27, 28 degrees everywhere.
Dry,
so it took me a while to get used to it. Then I come back here and I'm like, oh, it's bloody freezing. But that's the joys.
The joys. Do you find when you're touring, do you pick up viruses like, you know, very minor flus and just get sniffly noses constantly?
You can do, yeah. It depends. When you're touring, because you're on a lot of planes. Well, we're on a private jet, so it's basically we don't mingle with anybody outside. You know, our touring party. You know what I mean? But you can do when you're traveling a lot, just on planes and stuff like that. You know, just air con on, going from different temperatures is a big thing as well. But I'm lucky enough; I don't really get sick that much anymore. And I discovered it was just because it was just being a lot more healthy and fit on the road. Makes, I don't know, for some reason works for me, helps my immune system a lot better, because I remember I used to get sick every month, you know, every without fail every month, and I just changed a little bit in how I just tried to exercise every day, and you know, and it just keeps, it's like a kickstart stuff in your body. I don't know the detail. You know. I'm not some big fitness freak or anything. Like I just, you know, like I haven't done any exercise in 2.5 weeks, so it's like, you know. You know, apart from that exercise, you know.
Yeah. Well, you get, I've watched the videos, you're getting a bit of a workout on stage, though. I mean, that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a workout on stage. Yeah, it's great. You know, you're kind of, running around a little bit, and, you know, it's all, but when you're playing guitar, it's all really in the hands and the wrists and stuff. But yeah, it's, I'll probably lose about 3 stone each night and sweat, but that's, you know, but yeah, it's fun, you know, to do it, you know, but yeah, it's good to, I still have to play every day just to keep, it's funny when you're on the road, you know, you got to keep playing every day just to keep your fingers, you know, keep that dexterity there, and just to keep it, you know, loose a little bit, you know, so, because if you don't play, if I don't even play for 2-3 days, like, you know, say we have a 2-3 day gap in between gigs, and I don't play, I come to the next gig and I'm like, my fingers sort of feel a bit stiff. It's a weird thing because it's like you get so supple and whatnot, and then if you stop playing, they just kind of stiffen up a little bit, and then so I have to, before the gig, it's like, oh shit, my warm up exercises now become an hour instead of half an hour.
Oh yeah,
just trying to get them back to in some shape or form. So I try to play every single day, so that's why I bring my guitar everywhere with me, back to the hotel room every night. It always comes with me. So I get up in the morning and play for an hour, and that's it really. So yeah.
It looks like you've taken and I imagine that there is extra pressure given you're playing in Deep Purple, but do you feel it, or have you just taken it in your stride?
I just take it in my stride, to be honest. It's. I felt a little bit of pressure the first gig because that was just more me. I was a little bit nervous because, well, I think we were all a little bit nervous. Even those guys. He's been doing it for so long. His first show after 2.5 years, really. First, proper touring show. And, but then the adrenaline kicks in. So, no, I don't get stressed or pressurized about anything, really, which really annoys my wife. But I don't. People get stressed about things. I don't know. Just whatever's in my way my brain works. I don't get stressed about things. So I just, to me, I just go on stage and have fun. And the guys are amazing. It would be a different story if the guys were not very nice to work with or whatever. But they're just unbelievable. They're incredible people, and just really, really humble and down to earth, and they just love playing music, and that's it. And they respect me, and they just let me get on with it, and that's an amazing thing. So, the first gig playing with Deep Purple was like, shit, I'm going to play stage with Deep Purple. Oh no. So, and then the second gig was like, yeah, it's going to be fun tonight. It's going to be, it's bizarre how it works.
You're looking forward to the pizza or the McDonald's afterwards when you're on stage a bit.
Yeah.
They know that thinking. I'm a muso too, and that's what I tend to do is I think, what fast food, what junk food am I going to get in the drive home?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So it's, it's fun. It's, it's an amazing experience, just to play with them, and be part of that history, that legacy, if you want to call it. But yeah, all cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely here to talk about The Fight, a killer album, by the way. I've loved listening to it in preparation for our chat. But just whilst we're talking about Deep Purple, look, for my years, okay, you're more of a spiritual successor to Tommy Bolin than Steve or Richie Blackmore. Does that comment resonate with you at all?
Well, I don't know, because at the end of the day, for me with this gig, there's been lots of people saying, asking me, will I play like Richie? Will I play like Steve? And will I do this or Tommy or Satriani or whatever? And so that thing initially kind of confused me a little bit. I didn't know what to do. It was only when I was talking to Don Airy about it, and he just said, forget about it all. Just be you. Play your own thing. That's it, which I did. And I kind of started to relax a little bit and just be myself. So I think when you start to think about, who else has been, in the band, you get a little bit confused what to play or when to play or what to do or what way to play, or should I play this like Richie or should I play like Steve or should I, everybody has their own opinion on the guitar players in Deep Purple and which one worked better or whatnot. I'd be respectful to everybody and who's played in it, because they're all great players, every single one of them. So I'd kind of, whether it's Richie or Tommy or Steve, I just kind of be respectful to what they've done in the past and I just do my own thing most of the time. Like there's certain things you have to play, like like Highway Star, for example. I'm not going to play anything different to what's there in the original, because why the hell would That's my attitude. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because, I learned a lot from Don Airy from over the years playing with him, because, when he plays some of the, John Lord parts, he's like, well, have you heard the keyboard solo? I was like, And I was like, yeah. He says, well, why the hell would you change it? It's like, it's very, some people can be like, oh, I need to do my own thing. And I'm going, well, I'm sorry, but these guys spend a lot of time in the studio or whatever it is, creating these pieces of music to fit the song. So it's, why would I be so arrogant to say I'm going to change that just because I want to play my own thing? Because I know really I wouldn't come up with anything better. Why would I? But so anyway, I'm going on a bit, but it's a case of just I just go on and do my thing, and I don't really think about it too much. What people say or do. People will either like me or hate me. I don't know. So
well, that's a great point, though. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's a great point. I mean, people are accepting you. I've read the YouTube comments. I mean, a position like that. There are other examples that I could offer where you've got someone younger stepping into a legacy band with a titan like Richie coming before you, and you do suffer a bit because the fans don't accept you. But the fans are accepting you, certainly on face value when I'm reading the comments. But are you feeling that night to night?
Yeah, to be honest, everybody has been so nice and so cool and so kind, especially on, as you say, on the social media stuff. It's all been very positive. You get the odd negative one, but I don't read a lot of it anyway. So, but it's really cool. The people accept me, and as you say, because it is a legacy band, and they've been around for a long time. I really appreciate that people just are digging what I do, and I feel it every night on stage. We some of the shows we've done, like some of the audience reaction has been incredible. Like we played a show in Macedonia. We come off, we did our encore and stuff like that, and then 20 minutes later, the audience are still shouting. Like, I mean, I've never heard this in my entire life, 15, 20 minutes of 10,000 people shouting for more, just constantly. And they wouldn't leave. And even Don Airy and Roger Glover was standing there in shock on, we haven't heard this in a long, long time, so it's not saying that's all for me. I'm just saying that's just for the band. But, so I'm very, very privileged that people like what I'm doing, because it is always hard stepping into into a band where you've had Richie Blackmore, Steve Morse, Joe Satriani, and Tommy Bone. It's like they're not small names by any means, So it's always very. I think if you just play and have fun, that comes across, and people respect that, and people will truly see. What age am I? I'm 43, I think. I can't even. It's terrible when you can't remember your own age. I know I'm over 40 anyway. So I kind of grew up in that old school playing method anyway. So because I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So I guess I'm still part of that older generation, if you want to call it. So I kind of, with the way I play, would still fit very well. Whereas maybe some of the new modern players wouldn't fit. I don't know. But it's amazing. The response has been brilliant, which is I can't complain at all. And I thank every single one person that's said a nice thing about me. So
yeah, it's killer. I'm really glad they picked you. Actually, I mean, they could have picked almost anybody that had the technical ability you do, but you actually bring something else, which is you've got a laid back personality. Of course, you're Irish too. I think that's really important. You bring that component. If they bought maybe an American guitarist, the flamboyance that tends to sort of come along with it, it might have sort of ruined the spectacle, I think, a little bit. But it does lead to something else, because I know you've had a decades-long career at this point. And I must ask, given the quality of the fighter during your conversations around the fighter with the indie, I am a journalist, right? But you get a lot of indie journalists, people who don't have training and the like. And given the recent appointment in Deep Purple, are there some people out there thinking that you're a bit of a recent sensation? You've only just sort of come out of nowhere?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because Well, I did. I had a few records out a long time ago. I think the last one I did was 2012. It was out or something like that. But so there's that kind of whatever 10-year break. That wasn't really a break. I was kind of doing other things. I had kids, and I was playing with Don Airy and Gillan and Snake Charmer and various other people. So it's not that I wasn't doing anything. But yeah, people. It's kind of like my new album is like a relaunch of me. As my own solo stuff because it's a slightly different direction. It's more about me and what I want to do. Whereas in the past, sometimes you can get steered down a direction or a path musically, and you end up just getting stuck in it. And whereas this record, The Fighter, it's what you hear. It's me. That's just me. My musical influence is coming out in every single song. So it is kind of like a reintroduction to the world, even though I've been around for decades. It's, sometimes that happens with artists. It can be touring for years or playing different things. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, who's this guy? Because, never heard of this dude before, like there's artists in Asia and Europe and who I've never heard of who are massive, so it just makes you think the world is a big place, and like there's some German artists I'm going like they sell millions of records and I'm like never heard of them. Never ever. But that's just the beauty of the music. So like I know there was a friends of mine who were in a band and they were massive in Asia, but nobody had heard of them outside of Asia, and they were from Ireland. Bizarre. So it's but yeah, this for me, this was like a reintroduction into let's give it another push, back into the world of Simon McBride, if you want to call it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, the timing's good too, I think. And look, I already alluded to the quality of the album, but I'll dive a bit deeper into the cuts. Okay, so you are a very dynamic guitarist from the perspective that you can produce slow-burning rockers such as Trouble, Let Me Go, Don't Dare, and Show Me How to Love. I enjoy them. But then I enjoy the transition into the slinky groove of cuts, a cut such as Kingdoms. But then you do the hard rock thing too, the stadium shaking thing, the title cut and the Stealer, and probably my favourite, King of the Hill, that blues stuff that you're doing, the Glenn Hughes blues stuff style thing. So when you're crafting cuts, do you pick a vibe and then work toward that, or is it more just whatever happens?
It's usually just whatever happens. It's funny that the King of the Hill is probably the only one that wasn't just let's see what happens. We were listening through all the songs. King of the Hill was one of the last ones what we did, and we were listening through all the songs, and it was like, I haven't got anything as kind of a fast shuffle kind of a vibe, and I'm normally against fast shuffles. It was only Dave, the guy who helped me produce it. He says, "Now let's just try something." I was like, "Oh, really? Do I have to? I don't really like all that." I was like, but I started playing this kind of guitar riff, and I didn't even know I played it. I was noodling around a guitar, and the guy I was writing with, Joe Webb, I was just noodling away, and he went, "What's that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what to play." He says, "Well, just think about what you play." So I had to try and think back to go backwards in time a little bit and try to remember what I played.
Rewind.
I was like, "Yeah, it was that." And that's how that song came about. It was like, okay, that's a fast shuffle, well, shuffle-esque, but. Yeah, that was one where we kind of thought about that. We haven't got this sort of a vibe on the album. This sort of feel. Let's try to write something like that. Everything else was just see what happens. Whatever happens. Because I wrote about, I don't know, 16, 17 songs for the album, and then I just, as you do, you narrow it down into the best ones, or I think the best ones, and you choose it. But it's funny, whatever songs I think are the best ones is usually different to what everybody else thinks. It's bizarre. Like King of the Hill, everybody loves King of the Hill. I'm going, yeah, it's a good song. I like it. It wouldn't be my favorite, but what do I know? Like, it's like, you know,
just
and,
right.
yeah, but that's the thing. But people, everybody's ears are different. Everybody's perception is different. It's like, you know, when I was talking to Roger, you know, like Smoke on the Water, it nearly didn't make the album because it was a throwaway piece of music.
Yeah.
It was
It's
just
like Paranoid. Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
you know, and they're like, okay, biggest song ever. Okay, you know, so you just never know. So that's why I sometimes put my faith in outside input, like the record company or producer, to go, you know, because sometimes when you're very close to the music, your opinion changes. You know, I try to separate myself from the guitarist to the producer to the listener. I can do it, but it's sometimes difficult, and you just get somebody from an outside, like the record company, will go, nope, we like this song, we're going to put that one out. And I'm going, okay, I don't understand why, but okay, I trust you. Let's just do it, you know, because as I said, you just never know, you know, it could be the biggest song on the planet, but hopefully that would be nice, but I don't think so. But yeah.
You're singing on the album too, of course. So that's your vocal that we hear front and center. And I've got to say, I was surprised, not that I didn't think you had it in you, but it's bloody strong. It's a lot of soul in your voice. Like you've got that. It's not a juxtaposition, if you know what I'm saying. It actually, your voice sounds like it suits your guitar playing, and it doesn't sound like you're having to do a lot of effort either. It just sounds like it's natural. So when you're crafting melodies on the guitar, do you sometimes have to think about the vocal first, or do you even do it the opposite, where you come up with a vocal melody in the shower and you have to then think, what will I play? What will work on the guitar to this vocal melody?
Well, to be honest, this record, I decided to do something a little bit different. You know, I decided to, I got together with a friend of mine, Nathan, who's a singer-songwriter, and he doesn't care about guitar, really. You know, he loves guitar music and he loves all that stuff, but when it comes to songs, it's all about the song. So there's no real, let's get the guitar riff down and get that done. That's really killer. And then we'll work on the song. No, it's like, scrap all that nonsense. Let's just get the vocals, get the melodies, get the main thing of the song. So that's why I decided to do this album. That's why we have tracks like Show Me How to Love and Trouble and stuff like that. It's all about the vocal melodies and the, you know, the chorus sections and the lyrics. Because the guitar, I've been playing guitar for so long. I can take the song. It's easier for me to do it this way, get the song done, and then put the guitar into it, if you know what I mean, afterwards. Yeah. But again, there is some certain songs where I come up with a guitar riff first, and then it's done. You know, vocals is, for me, it's not my first instrument, if you want to call it. So I was kind of late to the party when it came to singing. You know, realistically, I should have been singing when I was 16, but like every other 16-year-old kid, they don't want to sing. I'm not singing, can't sing. That's always the attitude, you know. So, but it was only, so I was kind of late to the game. It was only when I was 25 or 26, I started singing, you know, properly. And I don't really practice singing at all. I'm really bad at practicing singing. I should practice a lot more. I would probably be a hell of a lot better at singing if I practice, but I don't. The only time I sing is on tour. That's it, or recording. Yeah, it's I think, like in regards to pitch and stuff with singing, you know, it's because I play guitar. I'm so used to hearing certain pitches. My voice naturally goes there anyway, so I don't have that problem with pitching stuff. And I think that's a benefit from being able to play an instrument. I know some singers who struggle with pitch, but they don't play any instruments. So it's they're not used to hearing certain, like what a C note is or what a D or an F or whatnot. So, but yeah, you know, as I said, with this record, I wanted to just make it about the songs. Because at the end of the day, you listen to any album, what do people love? Songs. It's a common thing through everything, whether it's the Beatles, whether it's Black Sabbath, whoever it is. They all have one thing in common. The songs are brilliant. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get the songs, you know, I wanted to write great songs, and I can always put the guitar into it, you know, because that's when you work with a lot of these guys, you know, there's people have different ways of writing stuff. Like Don Airy would write in a different way, you know, and a lot of those older bands are writing a different way. It's like they write all the music and then the singer has to put stuff on top of it, which is quite difficult. But I like to, with this stuff, I wanted it to be all part of it. So the first thing we had was the lyrics and just basic chord structures and vocal melodies, and that was the way I did most of it. Everything else can be tweaked afterwards, you know.
Yeah, okay, I get you. Yeah. Now, what about challenges? Were there any serious challenges you had to you had to face and overcome during the recording process?
No, to be honest, it was relatively easy. It just took a long time because we did it in stages because I was so busy at the time. I didn't have 2-3 weeks just to nail down and go into the studio and do it. And so we did it over the space of a year, you know, just a bit here and a bit there. You know, we were never in the only thing I regret about the album is we were never in the same room together, so everything was done. I got the drummer, Johnny, he played all the drums in London, and then I got his drum tracks done or back, and then I recorded all the guitars again over the top of him. You know, well, basically what I sent him was basically nearly like a finished product anyway, but he did the drums, and then I replaced all the guitars because drummers move around a little bit. You know, the tempo was important for me to play to him, and then the bass player same, so it felt a bit more, tight together. Yep. So, but yeah, apart from that, it was all relatively easy. You know, it's that's it. The only hard part about it was because it felt like it was taking forever to get done because it was over a year, whereas most people go in 3 weeks, done. You know, which will probably be my next album. I've planned. I've said to the label, I'm going in 3 weeks in the studio and I'm done. That's it. I want to get it. You know, I don't want it to drag on, because you kind of lose that bit of drive for it. I think. Yeah. You know.
All other things in your life come in, don't you? Kids, school stuff, and all the rest of it, and all of a sudden you find your attention, your energy being drawn elsewhere. But I mean, if you've got a busy schedule like what you do, it's sort of like I'm not saying minor miracle, but you know where I'm headed. That everything sort of sounds as cohesive as what it does.
Yeah, it's and sometimes as well. You know, when you go into a studio, you know, your one purpose is this album. That's it. You know, it's not looking after the kids or going, as you say, going to the wood, doing whatever else I have to do. It's like, here's 3 weeks. It's you get into this zone, this place, and that's where the magic happens, I believe. You know, it's because, you know, it's that same old saying, life gets in the way sometimes, you know, and can disrupt things a little bit. So, so my next record will be done differently. Hopefully, it probably won't be as good now.
I'm sure it will be. No, if you mentioned you've got extra cuts there, do you think that they'll make the next album, or are you going to start again?
No, I'll start again. I've already half the half the songs written for the next album anyway. So, no, I always like to start fresh. You know, the songs are still there from the previous ones. They might go on a bonus thing or something at some point, you know, so they're all done anyway. So, it's a case of just keep a little extra feature on another CD some point or album or down the line. But everything I like to do from fresh and start again, you know.
Look, I understand your timeline as a guitarist. You're part of the great tradition of Irish guitar players, you know, Gary Moore and especially Vivian Campbell. I understand you're in Sweet Savage for a period of time there. And I was reading an interview with you where you talked about you witnessed Gary Moore playing a gig in Belfast. And I think you mentioned that was the catalyst for you the inspiration really for you to say, that's what I want to do with my life. But those guys, they're the obvious guys, aren't they, really? Because they're just, you know, they're colossuses, those guys, particularly Gary. Mm-hmm. But did you get into, especially because we're the same age, a little bit before our time, we sort of came up through the grunge era and the death metal era, I think is the way to describe it. But we had to work to get into some of these shredders that came into the 80s, that came out through the 80s. So guys like George Lynch, Vito Bratta, Evan Ingve. Did you get into the playing of any of those guys? Did they inspire you as well?
Yeah, all of them. The Satrianis, the Gilberts, the Paul, the Vais, the George Lynch, all those 80s, you know, rock guys, you know, I listened to every single one of them. I learned every single thing that they did. Most of it anyway. That was my training ground, basically, all that style of music, you know. And for me, I don't think there was any better training ground than that if you want to be a guitarist, because it's like, they were all great players, you know. So nothing you're going to learn is a bad thing. It's always going to be a good thing. Because I remember, even when, you know, Satriani, like the first 4 albums, the Not of This Earth, Surfing the Alien, Flying on the Blue Dream, and The Extremist, I learned them all back to back. You know, I was obsessed. Because all I did when I was a kid was play guitar. I played for like 9 hours a day or something stupid like that. And I just learned. I remember I had a little tape recorder or tape machine at the time, and I used to wear out the tapes a lot. It was the same with Passion of Warfare album. I learned it inside out, and don't ask me, I couldn't play it today, like, you know, but Paul Gilbert was the same. George Lynch, I loved all the Dokken stuff as well. Yeah, just there was so many players back then. I've forgotten half the names, you know, because there was, you know, it got a bit oversaturated, I suppose is the word, and I think that's why grunge happened then, you know, because it kind of went a bit tits up, I think, you know, with the guitar player end. You know, when Malmsteen was a great player. I never really learned much of Malmsteen stuff. I wasn't a massive fan of that neoclassical kind of influence into what he did. It was a bit too intense, but that's just my personal opinion. You know, I appreciate he's an unbelievable player. Like, you know, when you hear him play stuff that's not Yngwie stuff, it's like, Jesus, he's brilliant. But so yeah, all that stuff was a big, like I listened to everybody, you know. I was all those guitarists, and then another big influence on me was Steve Lukather from Toto, like huge influence, you know. I tried to learn everything that he did, because every time I hear something he plays, I was like, not again. There's another masterpiece of, you know, so I learned that, and I still, it's a funny thing. It's still to this day, I still get inspired by him. You know, if I'm sometimes even on a gig day, I'll stick on like maybe his first solo record or something, just listen to it. It just gives me a little bit of inspiration for when I go on and play, because everything he plays is just genius, in my opinion. You know, but so I'm still massively inspired by all those guys. You know, I think as well with that generation, a lot of the music was fun to listen to. You know, it was upbeat. You know, like one of my favorite bands is Motley Crue. You know, just because it's high energy, it's fun. You know, and that's what I love. Like one of my favorite songs is Dr. Feelgood. Every time I, you know, hear that coming on the radio, it's like, let me turn it right up.
Brings us back, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does, and it puts a smile on my face, and it puts me in this different place, this happy place. You know, so yeah, it's but everybody's different. Everybody has their own genre of music that they like. You know, I was never really into the hard, heavy metal, like, you know, or death metal or anything like that. That wasn't for me. Like even Metallica to a certain extent, I wasn't really too much into them. It was a bit too, at the time, really a bit too heavy for me. But as I get older, I grew to appreciate it more. You know what they did, and you know, but yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, about the heavy metal stuff. I mean, it was impossible to avoid back in the day, wasn't it? I mean, Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, even the death metal stuff like Morbid Angel and in Britain, Carcass was a big band there. So none of that stuff really, obviously, you've already answered the question that it didn't really appeal to you, but were mates around you listening to it and saying, hey, have a listen to this stuff here, it's really good?
Yeah. Everybody, a lot of friends were all into, you know, as you say, Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer. It never really did anything for me, you know. I don't know why. I try, but I appreciate, you know, how good it is and for the style of music. And you know, sometimes I listen to it now and I go, that's amazing, you know, but it's just when you're caught up in a certain moment, like back then I was just more interested into the more melodic aspects of the guitarist. So, but that was just me, you know, but not like I remember when grunge first came out, I hated it. I hated grunge with a passion.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Because it ruined my world. It ruined all my guitarists. All the guitarists was gone. But now I listen to it and I go, I was an idiot. I was a narrow-minded little kid. And I was just like, okay. When I listened to like Soundgarden and going, it's just unbelievable. The music in it, you know, and but it's just how, you change over the years mentally, and but again, everybody's different. As I said, I was only 18-year-old kid, so at that age, it's like, nope, I want to hear guitar music. That's it. I don't want to hear any of this stuff, But that's why we all grow up in the end.
Yeah, I did the same thing back in the day. I hated bands like Stone Temple Pilots. Of course, I love them now. And I've even spoken to Dean DeLeo. And I sort of think, God, what was I thinking? But I think it was just because it was the popular music of the day. And to your point, so I love Queen and stuff as well, Pink Floyd. And they never went away, but they certainly weren't played on radio. And I went to a boarding school, so you had all these guys playing all the grunge, and because it was a lot of rural kids, a lot of country music too, which I still can't stand, to be honest with you. But it is what it is, isn't it? We are people like you and I sort of have our own muse, and we sort of gravitate toward that and bugger the trends that are going on. And look, I'll make this my final question for you there. Then, mate, do you think you're going to come down this way at all anytime soon?
I don't know. We will have to see. I don't know what's happening. My life at the minute is just all up in the air. I don't know what's going on, what's happening. I'd love to come down to Australia. I have never been to Australia. I have a few friends that live in Australia, but I'd love to come to. My only problem with Australia is the snakes. I don't like snakes. Can't do the snakes. I think if I seen the snake out there, you'd never see a white man run so fast. But no, I'm a joke. No, I don't know. We will see. It's a possibility. There's I don't know what's happening with the purple stuff yet. Except it's all just we'll play it by ear and see what happens, I think. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. No, you definitely got an audience down here, no doubt about that. There's certainly a cohort of shred-ready guitar fans out there who love what you're doing and appreciate that there are albums like this coming out. Joe Bonamassa sells out QPAC, which is about 2,500 seats or thereabouts. Right. So there's definitely an audience down here for it. But just to finish things off, congratulations for making it and doing it. It's a massive accomplishment being in Deep Purple and doing what you're doing there. And there's only a few people in the world that can do it, mate, and you're one of them.
Oh, thank you very much, man. That means a lot. It's an honor and a privilege to be part of it. And, so I just try to do my best, and hopefully people like it.
I think they do. But the album's killer too, and I encourage anybody out there to get out there and look a bit beyond Deep Purple, to be honest with you, and get into the solo stuff, because I've had it on in the back. But what I like about it, mate, just a quick tidbit, I work from home, this setup here, and I'm writing away. I can have your music on in the background, and it actually complements. Like a lot of music doesn't do that. It's sort of, you got to sort of turn it off because you got to keep working. But I listen to a lot of synth stuff, but I had on your stuff in the background today and yesterday, and it sat really nicely. And that's a tribute to your musicality.
Oh, thank you very much, man. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Well, God bless, mate. Hopefully we can catch up when you come down here. But otherwise, mate, good luck with everything. No worries.
Cheers, man. Thanks very much for having me.
Pleasure. No worries, mate. Have a great one.
All right. Cheers. See you later.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gents. I told you it was an interesting conversation up top. Simon is he's one of those fellas who I feel like I could talk to a lot more, but, we only get an allocated period of time or thereabouts. He's the sort of bloke that I wish I could actually have a one-on-one chat with over a couple of beers and just dive into songcraft, musicianship, all of the things that make him such an excellent musician. If you like that chat, there are many more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com, and something else you can do when you're over at scarsandguitars.com is check out my new book. You can download it from your favourite marketplace, Amazon, Apple Books, whatever it is you want to dive into. It'll be available for you. I've made sure there's about 7 or 8 marketplaces, what have you. Anywho, I'm going to leave you with this. It's a bit of an advertisement for it. I appreciate that you have listened to the chat, and please indulge me and have a listen and a bit of a watch if you're on YouTube to my advertisement for my book. And if you do buy it, please hit me up because I'd love to have a chat to you. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast series. It's a very good bye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.